Welcome to this next premium guest interview on this incredible issue of the House of Preeminence, the one that heralds the new year, the one that heralds the new era, the one that heralds the new paradigm shift. And what more juicy topic to be talking about as we enter this paradigm in this era than social media. Love it or hate it, my guest today is going to bring some new perspectives which are going to really make you think about, take your note, get a pen, get a pen and a piece of paper, grab it quickly while I'm talking, because I think you're going to want to take notes. I think this is going to change your point of view about social media. I have the immense honor of talking today to somebody who's been around in social media practically for as long as social media existed, even though she looks radiant. She is known as the queen of Facebook marketing, but she is not just about social media. She is a corporate business consultant, a keynote speaker, a thought leader, a transformational leader, and so many other things. She's also a beautiful human being, a warm, gorgeous human being. It is my absolute joy to introduce you to Mari Smith.
Hello, thank you so much, Jenny. Wow, I have been looking forward to this for quite a while now. I love your magazine. I love your paradigm shifting approach to educating your audience and your vision for really up-leveling these different conversations. And of course, today's is one of my favorites.
So Mari, when we connected last, we really dove quite deeply into a topic that's been on a lot of people's mind, which is the kind of aftermath of the film, the documentary that was put out on Netflix, which is Social Dilemma, which has had a lot of people fleeing social media or concluding that social media in general and Facebook in particular is a really bad place to be, that they feel manipulated. And we want to set that straight, and for you to be able to reveal to us how we move forward in this environment where these people, no doubt, are very powerful, but that we can take our power back. And I know that's one thing that you're particularly insistent on, is that we can take our power back. So introduce us to, let's turn all this on its head.
Yeah. No, I love where we're just diving right in here, kind of to the deep end. So for those that might not be familiar, there was a documentary, as you mentioned, called The Social Dilemma. And I have to tell you, Jenny, I think it came out maybe August, September 2020. And I had not had a paid subscription on Netflix for years. I just not really much of a TV watcher. I do Apple, I do Amazon Prime, and, I have a few of my favorites. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a movie I must see. It's my industry. I got to know what's all the buzz. What are people talking about? Signed up for my reactivated my Netflix account, and I watched it twice, actually, once myself and once with my partner. And I thought it was well done. At the same time, there's an aspect of the social dilemma that portrays this sense that all of these social sites out there, whether Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even Pinterest, I had a former executive from Pinterest was on there, certainly from Twitter and from Facebook, and just really portraying these giant tech companies like they're kind of like the bad guys. They're all out to, control our brains, and maybe they are. Maybe there's an aspect of it, but it didn't really kind of highlight too many solutions. And what I found, and you mentioned the word power there, Jenny, and I just feel like what happened is that people were so up in arms thinking, oh my gosh, that's it. I'm shutting down my account. I'm going cold turkey. I'm just not ever going to use these platforms again. They're just really messing with our emotions as well as our thoughts and our behaviors. And that's, it has been going on for, 15 some years since social media has been around. But I literally came away, and this is what I really want to impart to your readers and your viewers, and we'll really unpack this, is that, oh, no, you have control. And I actually implemented a number of specific measures. after watching that documentary, one of which was, hello, on my phone there's different modes that you can set, and you can have these hours and block out time where you're completely can't act. Of course you can bypass them, but when you put a little friction there and go, oh, that's right, I put my max amount of time I'm going to use on certain apps, whether it's email or social media. And then Facebook itself does have a mode, they call it quiet mode. And I have my quiet mode, it starts at 8 p.m. and it doesn't come back on until 9 a.m. So I basically, and I sometimes I'll bypass it. There's things I absolutely have to just check, but it catches me out in those evening hours and those early morning waking hours. I'm never going to reach for my phone. And the first thing I do is check Facebook, because that's what massive amount of people all over the world do. And it's become a habit, an ingrained habit, just like brushing your teeth or taking a shower, as people just like automatically, because those grooves in the brain have become so dense that people are on autopilot. They don't even realize they're reaching for that. In a way, it is, I hesitate to use the word drug, but it is a substance that activates chemicals in the brain that hopefully make us feel better. But then there's all kinds of other elements that have this saying that we ought not to compare the inside of ourselves with the outside of others. And that is what happens with social media. What we do is we're feeling, I'm saying we people, right? Especially during this COVID crisis, Jenny, where people are, the mental health is just, so much of a crisis more than ever before. And people are feeling really awful about themselves, about their lives, about their relationships, about their work, about finances, whatever it might be, about the world. Then they go to Facebook or Instagram, whatever, and they're mindlessly thumbing through these feeds, and they see these filtered, glamorous, polished, forward facing images presented to the world, and they make these assumptions. Oh my God, that person has really got it all going. That person's so lucky. They have such a beautiful family. You don't know, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Stop for a minute and go, okay, what can you do to feed your soul in that moment? What can you do to elevate your own spirits? And I guarantee you, it is not thumbing through mindlessly social media feeds. It's going to be something like being in nature, or dancing, or music, or meditation, or essential oils, prayer, or whatever it might be, connecting with loved ones, pets, gardening, anything but putting this external barrage of other people's kind of polished lives. Does that make sense?
Totally. But one of the things that I think is becoming a wave is that people are it's hard to generalize, because some people, there are a category of people who will go in and get despondent because they're measuring their lives against what they see in social media. And another huge part of us as aware and conscious and mindful users of these platforms, that actually are inspired by the same images, that are pulled upwards, that to say, okay, well, if he or she has overcome that to attain this, or that she's been known all of this adversity and now done this, then there's hope for me. So there is that completely flip side, is that it is also very, very aspirational.
I love that you brought that up, because you're absolutely right. And where there's kind of dark, there's light. It's always going to be the case. And I think that what's really important to underscore is it's about each individual's own mental and emotional state. And my fear, if you will, or my concern, is that there's much more help needed for the folks out there who are suffering. And And at the same time, obviously, I know you're an inspirational magazine. There's aspects where, of course, you want to uplift. That's a huge part of my own mission as well, is that, yes, I'm a Facebook expert, a social media thought leader, and I fuse everything I do with light and love and energy, and put just pepper with some spiritual universal principles, and in the hope someone will maybe just wake up a little more, or just become a little more mindful or kinder or more compassionate, more understanding about their fellow human beings, no matter which party they support or whatever it might be. But you're absolutely right. For instance, I follow a photographer here in San Diego, and he's an influencer. He's Eric, his name is, and he travels all over the world. And I mean, pre-COVID, he still does a little bit of travel, and he puts up like the most spectacular photos of the sunsets and sunrises. And I live inland. I'm not right at the coast in San Diego, and I'm like, I just get so inspired, and it does. I can feel my cells kind of dancing, and I look at all these radiant colors, and I'm like, and I love photography too. I'm like, one day I'm going to take a proper photography class, and have that be more of a passion project, and so on. But I think also too, because I know a passion of yours is this rise of the hybrid entrepreneur, which I just love. I love that phrase. I love that you came up with that. And I think that because of COVID, and then amplified through social media, that there's this there is a wave, if you will, of people like almost like rediscovering parts of themselves. And when you mentioned that term to me in our first chat, I was like, it felt like a comfortable kind of coat that I could put on and wear and go, yeah, that's me, because I have been like the Facebook queen for be coming up 14 years, in May of 2021, and I love it. I love what I do. And I've kind of made this narrow lane for myself. Sometimes I think, I'm like, people, there's so much more to Mari than, just Facebook. I remember years ago, somebody had made a little comment on social media and was like, oh my gosh, if anything ever happened to Facebook, Mari would be out of a job. Like, oh no, like, you don't know me that well. I could turn my hand to so many things. I know I'm a marketer, I'm a trainer, I'm a speaker, but yeah, I really like about coming back to this point about really taking back control. If you have seen The Social Dilemma, or if any of your readers or viewers are thinking about going out to see that, or going out, go online to Netflix, I recommend it. I highly recommend watching it, and through the perception, or the kind of filter of just really knowing that you do have control. We're not these like puppets and at the mercy of all these shenanigans. And also, what I like to do actually with looking through my own feed is I observe how Facebook in particular are testing me. So, and I know they do a lot with sentiment and emotion. So they will favor really kind of personal, more intimate moments over, business posts. Of course, business posts get less reach anyway, and you need to be doing some ads for that. But for example, let's say two of my friends had recently had babies. I'm going to see two pictures in a row of baby pictures. Or they'll do, if someone lost a loved one, parent just passed, they'll put two back to back in a row of posts of people, not like they happened at identical same time. They might be hours apart or sometimes even days apart. And I know that Facebook's just testing to see which one will Mari respond to. Not like, like Mari, but like, whoever the user, because it's definitely, they're always just tweaking those algorithms. It's machine learning. They definitely are looking to see, what do we want more of? But the thing is, what's so like strange here that we need to wake up to is we're training the algorithms what we want more of, but we're being told and shown and like fed those posts or content or topics in the first place. We're not really saying, I want this and I want this topic and I want this topic, unless you're really tweaking those settings with the people that you follow and the pages that you follow. Yeah. Oh, my camera just goes out of focus when I lean away.
Oh, mine does
So
that.
it's a real background.
So I'd love to just pick up on something that you mentioned there, and something that's really important and pertinent to our audience in the magazine was the aspect that you said, that it's not just about strategy and algorithms and and mastering technology, that you bring a, I would say, a more metaphysical approach. And there's nothing wrong with metaphysical, because it's part of the universe, it's part of what we are. But you bring a more energetic approach to it, which of course is very mainstream now, more and more mainstream to entrepreneurs, especially not just women, but more and more, small business and entrepreneurs are really embracing this aspect of business, that the human side, the spiritual, the energetic, the quantum physics, the neuroscience, all of that, and not, so it's really interesting. I was really fascinated to learn that you embrace that approach to social media and it's not just about us trying to work out, about how to get more likes and followers and engagement and this sort of thing.
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to share with your readers and viewers that I was actually raised a Quaker. My parents were practicing Quakers, which is a very much a peace-loving faith. Anti-war, they're pro-peace, just like Mother Teresa said. They're also very inclusive. They just really believe in equality, and they're real pacifists. So I know that kind of impacted my own ground of being, and just being raised in this very, very humble beginnings in a tiny little community in remote part of British Columbia, Canada. Both parents are Scottish. I am 100% Scottish. I did emigrate with my dad and sisters age 12 to Scotland, and I lived in Edinburgh for 20 years before coming to San Diego. But I know that those humble beginnings, where we practically lived off the land, we had hardly any money. We had goats and hens, and I was like an outcast at school. I was very, very soft-spoken. I was so shy. I hated reading class. And then, but there's this aspect of me that I just kept nurturing. Like, I went to Toastmasters, I took public speaking classes. I just really, over the decades, the landmarks and milestones of my maturity, have come to just really enjoy myself in a healthy way. And so some of that looks like not being quite so serious, being sometimes a little goofy, and just loving on my followers and just allowing them to be who they are. And kind of like shine. I love to kind of, I do this thing, I call it like shining the spotlight on the, I don't like the phrase underdog, but I would call it like the up and comers, people who are just kind of a little newer to social media, or just relatively new to starting a business, and they don't maybe have as much reach or followers, and I'll like give them a shout out, or kind of put them in the hot seat, or bring them onto my Facebook Live, and just really treat them as an equal, and so there's that aspect. But the metaphysical, absolutely. I'm thinking of another whole other train of thought here, which is really relevant. And there's a book I read many, many years ago. It was on time management. I don't recall the author at this moment in time. There was a poignant part in there that I want to share that's so relevant. And he said that, this is about time management, right? He said, we don't suffer from a time famine. We suffer from an intimacy famine. And I like just stopped to my tracks. I'm like, what? And I'm like, yeah, okay, pre-COVID, when we could go out to restaurants, that day's coming back for sure, I know, hopefully sooner than later. But you would go to these public places, like a restaurant, cafe, or whatever, and you see couples or friends, and they're just glued to their device. And it's just really kind of heartbreaking, where like to be able to set that phone down and just make eye contact and connect and be vulnerable and be intimate with one another. That's scary stuff. It is scary for a lot of people. And they will, this back to the beginning of the conversation we were talking about, having that mental, or that, the chemicals in the brain that pull you in, and getting those dopamine and the serotonin and whatnot to just go, oh, right, okay, I feel better about myself because I've looked through some social feeds, or in some cases feel worse about myself. But it's because it's easier to do that. It's like a quick fix versus this thing that's kind of burning away inside you. You've had an argument with your mom, or you're like falling out with your kid, or whatever it might be, or there's something bugging you at work and you just haven't got the courage to speak up about it, or to go get some help, and, or, work with a coach, or just have a good talk with a friend or something like that, and to be able to diffuse that energy and use the power of our feelings, which I'm happy to see is becoming a little bit more mainstream. I love the work of Susan David. She has a TED Talk, which I highly recommend everybody watch. A PhD she is, and her book is called Emotional Agility. And then a great companion body of work is by Mark Brackett, PhD, and his book is called Permission to Feel. And his story is so beautiful about where he's, as a young boy, he felt like an outcast. He was just really unable to express himself. And as he's going through a very troubled youth, one day an uncle just basically talked to him about feelings. And he says the first time in his life, someone's like, how do you feel? And he's like, had no clue what's this thing, feelings, and end up being his whole body of work. And there's one thing people take away from this entire interview. It's like, lean into the whole world of allowing your body, your physical body, to feel the feelings and flow, and don't harbor them. That's ultimately what ends up creating disease and illness and trouble and strife in our lives. And we don't allow ourselves to feel those feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's so what is eternal in what you're saying throughout all of these changes in in the technology is, at the end of the day, what we're building is relationships, and that is the whole purpose. That is the whole purpose of the social platform, is to build relationships with all of those nuances and that authenticity that you've just been talking about. In fact, we can't build relationships without that.
Right. Yeah, when social media were like really kind of first, blew up on the landscape, starting around 2007, 8, 9, that the word authenticity was used like everywhere, to the point where it's kind of almost in some ways diluted its meaning. But I think we need to get back to the roots of what does authenticity mean? How does it mean to show up being authentic, being transparent, being real, being willing to be a little vulnerable? But here's the other thing too. I have this I have this distinction of putting your life into potentially 3 different categories. And that is a public, so whatever you share publicly. And then you've got private, which might be in direct messages or a private group. And then there's personal. And I draw a line in the sand where, to me, personal is where you do not share anything that you're not comfortable having up on a giant billboard, found in Google searches in years to come, or proud of your own mom to see. And then, like, if you use that 3-part litmus test to go, oh gosh, I better not hit the send button or the post button, because I think that people, this whole freedom of speech, yeah, of course, say what you want, but be accountable. Don't use the internet and the computer to be having this false sense of bravado and anonymity and just being able to put whatever you want out there. No. Be accountable for the words coming out of your mouth and out of your fingers, and realize they are landing out there with others. And is that really how you want to show up in the world? And it's about, you're absolutely right. It's about building the relationships, and that's the title of one of my books is on. I call it the new relationship. And it was over a decade old now, but the term relationship marketing actually was coined around the 1980s. So it's a concept that's been around for a while. I put the new in there, and my publishers and I came up with the title because the new element is the digital. How do you do relationship marketing when it's through computers and phones and talking through these social channels or direct messages or email or text, that we have to almost hone even more our soft skills. I have a whole chapter in the book, soft skills, where we have to get better at reading between the lines. You see a tweet back when it used to be only 140 characters, now it's now 280, but when it was one single tweet, you had to be able to look at that and go, oh my gosh, what does this person mean by that? They're just maybe having a bad day. And let's give them the benefit of the doubt, or a little comment on Facebook or something like that. And just having a compassionate, kind word for another human being. And something, the sweetest sounding word in a person's entire vocabulary is their own first name. And I am such a proponent of using people's first names naturally, authentically, whether spoken or in written form. For example, when I'm doing my Facebook Live broadcasts, I use different softwares that you put the viewers' comments up on the screen. Right, there's a lot of different tools out there that let you do that. And I will, hi, Susan from Atlanta, or oh, here's John from Toronto, and they're like, whoa, she said my name. It's just like people love that. It really helps when done completely naturally and purely, which it always is for me. It's just it makes people's day, and it also does build trust and loyalty, and that's really what you want in business and in growing your platforms.
So yes, I totally agree with you with this bring back authenticity, because it had become a slightly generic word, but it is a very necessary one. However, we've had to adapt because in the beginning, even as entrepreneurs coming onto Facebook, it was still a temptation to share what we had for dinner and our pets antics,
Right.
or just kind of silly stuff. Whereas now we've had to be a lot more discerning because of the sheer demand on people's attention of the online world and the modern age. So would you agree that we have to be more discerning about what we post now, and also going forward, because everybody who's listening to this interview will be really wanting some fresh inspiration, or like, okay, what should I infuse my social media strategy with this year as we go forward?
Yeah.
What would you say to entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it's interesting because I do feel in some ways we've kind of pressed the reset button and come full circle and gone back to like, gosh, what really worked well about social media / social media marketing in the beginning years, 12, 15 years ago. And have we lost sight of that? And I do believe that we have in many ways. And the beautiful thing about social media, as I was said in the very beginning, is it's like bye-bye push marketing, one-way marketing, where these major corporations and small and medium-sized businesses, but mostly the major brands, they just like push their messages, done predominantly through things like TV ads or billboards, or even email. In essence, is typically just push marketing. And what social media created was it just blew the doors wide open on the multi-way conversation, not just two-way, but now multi-way. Now you could have a one-to-one conversation in public on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and other people can chime in. So now you've kind of leveled the playing field, and it's conversational, it's community building. It's like, hey, I want to hear other people's opinions, and this term crowdsource came about, where you can actually use your whole audience to chime in and give you ideas. I think in the like some of the beginning parts, like Nike would have their audiences like help to create the next shoe or something like that, or people's crowdsource all kinds of things, movie titles, book titles. And Then there's a term called UGC, which is user generated content. I was just listening to a podcast this morning talking about how, UGC is really making a comeback in 2020, 2021 because of the fact that budgets have been cut a little bit with the constraints of the pandemic and whatnot. And so if you're working with in terms of budget specifically for paid, for doing, Facebook ads, etc., then lean into your audience and see how you can mobilize more of them to take pictures with your product, or to give authentic endorsements, or to let their audience know. I mean, the whole rise of the influencer marketing and brand ambassadors is wonderful as well. But so in terms of like what to post and how to infuse your 2021 social media marketing strategy with kind of like almost like breathing new life into it, I strongly recommend, whatever size business you are, to absolutely bring that human element into it, the humanizing. This is a term, again, it's been around for a little while, but humanizing. For example, the other day I was doing an audit. I do these video audits for people's Facebook pages. And this was a coffee roasting company. I think it was called Cuppa with a K. And they're coffee roasters. So I looked at their Facebook, looked at their Instagram, looked at their website. And I have to tell you, Jenny, I could not find one single person's name or one single person's face. It was all just pictures of the beans, maybe a few pictures of coffee. And it was so like dehumanized, depersonalized. I'm like, that was my number one piece of advice. I'm like, and even when I went to their about section on their website, I was like, I didn't, what's your story? Who's behind this? Why did you want to source this eco-friendly coffee beans from wherever it was, Brazil or something? And I'm like, I want to know, like, that's the part, like, I want to buy your coffee beans because I want to connect and relate to your story. And it's about being willing to infuse your social, not every post necessarily, but maybe 1 in 3, 1 in 5, to just pop in a little bit of a human element, show like behind the scenes. I'm a big fan of doing live, whether Facebook Live or Instagram Live, or if you can't do live, then certainly doing video. And it can totally just be on your phone. You don't need a fancy studio with fancy camera. You can if you want, but the phones these days are just great with the camera. And take people on a little tour, show them like how the product's made, and introduce them to some of your key personnel, or even if some clients or customers are willing to come on, and just putting those faces and names to businesses and brands. And that we talk about categories of business being B2C or B2B, business to consumer or business to business. And I've always thought that the lines are fairly blurred between the two. Obviously, if you're depending on size of your company, what you make, but no matter what, to me, I have to tell you, it to me is all P2P. It's people to people,
Yes,
right?
I love
And
that.
people have
I love
always done business with people they know, like, and trust. They don't do business with a logo.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Yes, no more B2C, B2B. It's P2P. Love that. That's
Yes.
wonderful. And that's thinking amazing about that coffee company, but you didn't even know there was a human being behind it.
Because you go, you have to, you go to the about page and you want to read our story, and it's like, what's your story? I'll give a plug for a friend of mine. His name's Donald Miller, and he has a brilliant body of work called Story Brand. He has the books called How to Build a Story Brand. He has a podcast too, and people can just check out his website. But that's the whole concept, is weaving your story. And it's like the hero's journey. It's basically that, how can you portray your customer as the hero, and you are the guide? So it's like you're taking your customer on a mountain trek or whatever it might be, on a tour somewhere. And what many small businesses and brands do is they position themselves as the hero. I'm all that, do business with me, do business with us. It's like, position your customer as the hero. They want to be the hero. You're the guide on the side that helps them to get where they want to go. And you're the solution to the greatest problem they have that you can solve.
And I love that the bringing the story element back into it. And behind that, of course, is something that we are both motivated by and passionate about, which is purpose and why. And this is so key. I know that this is something that you wanted to really underscore, but I think it's really, really important for this new era.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I'm reminded of another book. I know I'm quite the reader as well, Jenny, but I love to read and I love to take in podcasts and you're just always learning. But Simon Sinek's Why, beautiful book, beautiful concept, great TED talk as well out there. And I think that again, coming back to this roots of social media, especially in business, why are we using social media and what purpose does it serve? And I feel that there's some social media experts or companies out there that are espousing a school of thought that's really it's really touting what's called the vanity metrics, and that's very old school now. That was maybe a decade or more ago, where yeah, you want to grow your audience, you want to get those public facing numbers up, so that's followers, and then some of the metrics would be likes, reactions, comments, shares, video views. Those are all actually what Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, calls proxy metrics. They're proxy insofar as they don't actually move the needle and ring the cash register. That it's a component. So yes, you need to build your audience. Yes, you need to get engagement, but ultimately, I like to help businesses and brands to really come up with a strategy that ensures they're driving to a business result, which will be to get traffic to your website or your physical place, leads, generating qualified leads, and then converting into sales. And what I see time and again is what people do with their social media is they out the content and they'll engage. They'll get the first two components right. They'll get the content, which is my formula, which is content plus engagement. That's easy. Most people can do that all along, content plus engagement. But the third component is conversion. And so the formula is content plus engagement plus conversion equals results, rinse, repeat. So, but the content, what we've been talking about, a large part of our conversation today, Jenny, is the content where you're weaving in that bit of personal, you're doing some behind the scenes, you're humanizing, you're telling your personal story, and you're being strategic with the conversion part is not being afraid to ask for the sale, telling people that here's our website or swipe up or link in bio, or hey, we've got this special now, or here's a code, or join our email list. And then you've got a whole nurture sequence. So with this why component, the why you're using social media is probably number one is to grow your business. Maybe there's a fun aspect of it on a personal level. It's fun and you enjoy it. But I just want to really underscore that, to be mindful of not going, okay, well, we did our social media today, check, we pushed out 3 posts or 1 video or whatever, and then just going on about your day. It's like, always connecting that to wanting to build those relationships, building a loyal, trusted community who loves you and loves to do business with you. That's really my kind of guiding principle, if you will.
I love that point that you just brought up, because I've been guilty of it in the past, of seeing the social media kind of strategy and action in the week as being just a kind of necessary evil in, in the part of the week. And actually, I've done a 180-degree turn on that because it's a science and an art and it's part of humanity. And I've actually realized myself, it's so interesting you bring that up, is that like social media isn't something that I go, oh my God, okay, it's like social media time again. I was just like, bang your head on. So many people are frustrated because they don't know how to do content marketing, don't know what to talk about, don't know what to post. And now I can see from my point of view that I've actually been missing something for years, because I was actually reluctant to learn the ins and outs of Instagram for various reasons, partly because it used to be a young platform, which it isn't anymore. It's a very mixed platform. But I just had so much resistance to it. And then, you know, it was like, well, I need to learn Facebook, and I need to learn Instagram, and I need to learn Pinterest, and you know, maybe I should fit Twitter in there as well. And I mustn't forget LinkedIn. And then getting totally overwhelmed with this kind of entity of our business marketing world, and it becomes a kind of leviathan that is difficult and unpleasant. And coming back to the energetics, that the energetics of it, you actually here in the solar plexus feel a bit sick about, or you know, or it gives you a headache, or or worse, just like, and that's actually something that I'm sure I'm not the only one that, you know, that has realized that actually we really are coming back to paying attention to other people, and it not just being all about us. Because that was another kind of phase with social media, is the kind of show off part, because we can show off, you know, and what we can show off, our lives, this is coming back to the beginning of the conversations, our lives can be not the reality at all. But so there is that show off, and then actually what it comes down to is, and this refers back to what you were just talking about, the user generated content, and also the hero is that the fact is that the customer is the hero, and that person that you are potentially connecting with on social media, and attracting on social media, and engaging with on social media, and hopefully converting in social media, is a real live human being. And the more that we just get out of our egos, and I would also hesitate to say strategies that don't work anymore, because, and again, I must be amongst many entrepreneurs who go, okay, well, I'm going to hire this person to help me with social media, or I'm going to watch that person, and or I'm going to do this program, and I'm going to do that, and they're all little bits of it. But what, you know, comes to me and is really coming through from what we've been talking about today is, yes, is this humanist aspect of bringing it back to a human scale, and also a purely business foundation, which is what is a need, what solution have you got, how can you adapt your solution to that need, and what is the, you know, the best way to do it. So it really is, we're kind of demystifying, I feel, a lot of, and which feels really good. That feels really good to me. I hope it's feeling good to our audience, is kind of demystifying this difficulty, this, you know, social media is such a pain, it's so difficult, you know, I need to hire somebody completely to do it for me because I don't want to go there, or I don't want to be on it. I have colleagues with six-figure revenues who've made the decision they don't want to be anywhere near social media, and good luck to them. But I kind of feel that they're also missing out a part of life. So so everything that you've been talking about, I kind of feel is that we've demystified all of this, and taken out all of this this resistance, and brought it back to human level, and business principles level, and also this really key point of, when we show up, is to convey not just our story, but to convey our purpose, our values.
Yes.
Our values. This is you know, this is a basic relationship skill. So yeah, I really think we've kind of taken a veil off something, so that people can have a fresh start. And that's what this is the new year, was what we all want, is a fresh start.
I love that. Yes, you're absolutely right. You know what? My motto is relationships first, period. business second, period. I even have it printed on my checkbooks. It's been like that for like 20 years. And just another quick little additive to everything you said, beautiful summary of everything we've been talking about. One of the things, if you know, to be able to connect more, to create more connection with your audience, is to be able to overcome that fear of being on camera. And I think it's very close cousin of public speaking, right? It's like the top fear is speaking in public, social fear anyway. And it's very much connected to, oh my gosh, get on camera. Maybe it's even amplified because now you've got tech, and what if something goes wrong? And now you've got to deal with, you know, trying to interact with people as well as make eye contact with the camera. But it's something that I love to teach. I teach people how to stream effectively and to monetize their streams. And so a quick example, literally just the other week, I run this group that's called the Social Scoop group on Facebook, Mari Smith Social Scoop, and been running it for quite a while now. We've got about 15,000 members in there. It's a beautiful community with very, very great culture, which is absolutely, I know it's a reflection of my own values and my moderators. I do have a chief community moderator in there, and she never will write as me. She writes as herself, and as Team Mari. We have a different account called Team Mari, a different page. But the other week there was, it was so funny because somebody had posted in there asking for, hey, who would you recommend? Who are the best people to buy a course from teaching Facebook ads? The whole thing just flooded. I don't really, it's not my passion is the ad side of it. I include aspects of ads, but I don't teach like in-depth, advanced ads. I love doing the video and the relationship part, all the stuff we've been talking about today, the organic marketing, the building the audience authentically. And so, and I do ads a little bit, not a big part of it. But the thread started to really blow up, and I saw some discomfort from people that have been following me for like a decade. Some of my clients are like, why don't you check out Mari's courses now? Isn't she a Facebook expert? Like, you guys, I could see that they were kind of like, just, you know, what are you doing putting all these competitors into Mari's group? And I thought, you know what? I am going to jump on video and I'm going to have a conversation, and I'm going to say to them, you know, I have this very inclusive attitude, and it's totally okay. Because some folks, I saw they were putting affiliate links, and I was calling some people out. I'm like, if that's an affiliate link, you're going to need to disclose. It's FTC rules, and it's just common decency. It's courtesy, right? Etiquette. And so I got on video, and I did this like 7-minute video, totally speaking from the heart and just saying this is a very inclusive and positive community. I'm okay. Look, now and again, if you're going to pop an affiliate link in a comment, no big deal. I'm not really that competitively minded if you want to put someone in there, but the thing is you must disclose. And, you know, I can't serve everybody. That's another thing too, right? Because I'm like you mentioned that we went through that phase of the kind of the show off and the ego and jockeying for position. And now it's like, okay, just own your lane. And in my industry, I know I can't serve everybody. It's like humongous, like 3 billion people in the whole Facebook family of apps. And we all have our different specialties. And so that particular video was just met with so much wonderful, heartfelt feedback. And I know that when you're a leader of a community, and we all are in some way, shape, or form, you're leading a community of various sizes. And it's our duty to lead the way in which you want to shape this community that's a reflection of your own values. So, I'm glad that you're saying like lifted this veil off, because it's like, yeah, stop thinking about social media as like another thing to do, and think about how you can really touch people's lives and elevate their well-being and their consciousness through whatever product or service that you sell. And you owe it to them. It's your duty to get out there and share. And also this whole other thing, by the way, real quick sidebar on the number of social platforms, don't bother trying to be on them all unless you have the resources. But you know what? There's only so many hours in the day. I have someone that chooses my tweets for me. I always sign off on them. So every day I've got content going on Twitter, everyday content going on LinkedIn. But I don't get on those platforms that much. They're optimized profiles. We have content going out, but you're going to always find me on Facebook and Instagram. And that's my best advice, is pick one and go deep. Maybe a second one if you want, but if you try to go deep on them all, you'll just run out of time. So, you know, pick the best one that you love, and also where most of your audience hopefully is hanging out is one of the best approaches.
Totally spot on advice. So I'd love to conclude this, Mari, by asking
Yes.
you, as in the rise of the hybrid entrepreneur,
Yeah.
as when you put on another hat and not just the Facebook Queen hat, what is that going to look like, or do you not know yet?
I know like tidbits of it. I actually, in the early 2000s, not long after I emigrated to California, I got a whole bunch of training as a relationship coach. And we've talked a lot about relationships here. I'm fascinated with the world of transformation and growth and personal development and feelings. I've talked a lot about feelings and emotions here. And I think this can be an aspect of the work that I do for the next 5-10 years. It will still have social media, it'll still have marketing. I love marketing, I love business, but I see myself either infusing more into that and or developing a separate body of work that is really around people realizing like the human potential is very much in the human potential to really empower probably more females, more mature females who are coming into that next phase of life and, you know, kind of wondering what's next and where to take their careers and just see how I can help them and to just be more connected to themselves and their life and their vision and everybody around them.
Wonderful. That really is the flavor of 2021 as we move forward, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. I'm excited. I hopefully that you know we're going to get through this pandemic. I know it, and I do think that. Gosh, there's a great documentary from years ago. It's called The Great Year, and it talks about the 24,000 year cycle. I think in India they call it the yugas. We might have spoken about that before, and it gives me hope. It gives me hope, Jenny, to know that we're slowly over, you know, hundreds or thousands of years where human consciousness is definitely on the rise. So it's a good thing.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to put all of the resources with this interview so that people can come and be part of your community and partake of your hopefully eternal wisdom on Facebook, which is really important, especially as you have such a great perception on Facebook as it evolves. And we were talking about that right at the beginning. So don't hesitate to go and join Mari's community. And I just want to say thank you so much for bringing this perspective to us and the House of Preeminence in all of your preeminence, Mari. This has been an absolutely inspirational conversation, and I feel I want to fall in love with social media and Facebook all over again.
That's awesome. My pleasure. Really delighted to be here and really looking forward to sharing this with my audience as well.
Thank you, Mari.
Thank you.